Hello everybody, CryptoChaperone here, and today I want to talk to you guys about how the markets have been fluctuating as well as some news that could impact Bitcoin, some actual news that is adding on to more news that I talked about in my last video about how Bitcoin is being added onto a TV show, The Big Bang Theory. This is some more news that could potentially, within the first week or so of December, the first 2 weeks, also fluctuate Bitcoin. First, we're going to take a look at the markets today. The cryptocurrency market caps are up to $204 billion. Definitely up above where we were in the last video. I think it was about 197 billion, and I think they were creeping up over the $205 billion mark for a while. So we're definitely fluctuating up there. Bitcoin dominance down to 53%, still fluctuating a lot. As our big Bitcoin dip did drop, we have now seen a little bit of a spike upwards in Bitcoin. I think we hit down into like I was going to say 57s, but I'm not 100% sure where actually we were hitting. In a 1 day chart, we hit, down in the 5700s, and we got up to 6800. Definitely a lot of movement in Bitcoin. And this is still probably a lot of people buying and selling from the whole CME exchange news, all that's been going on. So much money came into Bitcoin, and there was such a big price rise that you have to assume that there is going to be a big sell-off. But along with that sell-off, there is more news that is adding to Bitcoin's price as well, and big money that is taking away from Bitcoin's price. So some of the money that is taken away from Bitcoin's price, I think personally, is Bitcoin Cash. Now, if everyone's been aware over the past few days, we've had a few spikes in prices. That included the Dash price because Dash was hard forking, so it had a very big spike in price up to over 400 and I think about $50. What we saw with this actually was a spike in the whole privacy coin sector. We saw Privix spike, Cloak Coin spike, XVG had a little bit of a spike, and while all the markets were kind of down, these coins did see a spike. So actually, this only went a little bit above 430, so it's still at some of its highest points right now, and some of its all-time high points. There's a lot of potential in these markets to fluctuate just based on news that happens in the same sector of coins. This was just one privacy coin that fluctuated all privacy coins' prices. I'm not 100% sure that's the reason they all fluctuated, but I am a gambling man, and I would definitely bet money that that is the reason why. There's no reason why every privacy coin would fluctuate without releasing any sort of news or anything, especially when all the markets were kind of dipping yesterday and the past couple of days. It's definitely something to be interested into and possibly look into maybe further. For any coins that are major coins that have any announcements like Monero and stuff like that. Monero actually as well did spike in the privacy sector. So in the past couple of days, that went up to like $125, $130, I think. So it is definitely shooting up to some of its all-time highs again. As we did see, Monero did spike majorly when it was listed on, I forget which exchange it was actually listed on, but it was a foreign exchange, and when it was getting listed on there, we saw the massive price and spike. And it shot the price up to an all-time high that we had, and it was at about $145-ish, it looked like. So still a little bit higher than what we're at now, but I think these privacy coins have a lot of room to grow, some of them, and I think you're going to see a lot of money level out into other ones, kind of like how cryptocurrency money is going to level out from Bitcoin to other cryptocurrencies in general. I think people who want to maintain privacy coins are going to take their money and move it from Monero and Dash to possibly Pivx or whatever, and possibly Cloak Coin. Cloak Coin's still it's fluctuating a lot in price. It still has a lot of room to grow, but I think XVG, although it does have a high total supply, it has a lot of room to grow as well, and I think that possibly that's one of those coins that you could see go up to a couple cents, and over time you'll be like, wow, I saw that at a fraction of a penny. And the more you look back at it, it doesn't look like big movements of the growth factor at the first point that you look at it, but if you look at the growth chart over an extended period of time, it definitely starts to add up. And if you would have just put your coins in that and held them, or put your capital in that, if that was something you were thinking about investing in, and if you would have held it from there, it would have potentially been some of the better investments you could have done. But you always want to make sure that when you do invest in these things, that you are investing at the right opportunity at the right point. You don't want to buy into something when, like right now, Monero might not be the best time to buy into it, because I'm sure you're going to be able to get it for a better price at some point. But you always want to make sure that you're not buying into these coins if you are someone who's going to be holding on to them for a while. You don't want to buy into them at an all-time high. You want to possibly watch the coin for a while, study its movements, any patterns, any news developments that could be breaking potentially, anything that could potentially affect the price for the better or for the worse. If you are really someone who wants to invest in the coin, you want to get the most for your money for it. So investing at the lowest point would be your best option. Other than that, I am still a big fan of Omisi Go. I've been talking about it for a while. It's been fluctuating a lot. It went up to $13.50. It went down to $6. There's been a lot of time. I mean, it hasn't been $13.50 recently, but it's some of its high points. And if you would have definitely accumulated Omisi Go from its ICO stage, even now you are definitely happy with your profits from it. But it is definitely one of those coins that I think can exponentially grow even from this point, just because of all the developments that are behind it and the places that it can potentially go. There is the FinTech Ethereal conference or something like that going on, I think tomorrow, the 14th and the 15th of November. So there was something I heard about possibly Omisi Go being mentioned at it, how that could have effect on the price for good or bad. I don't know, depending on how that goes. You might have wanted to buy into this coin a few days ago when there was that little bit of a spike, but like right here. But other than that, it might be something that could potentially have a little bit of a break up or downward soon if you are looking to get into it, or if you are holding them, maybe looking to grab a little bit of a profit before it does spike downward. I know that's something that I did bring up, and I'll probably end up making a video about it or something like that, kind of based on whatever trader you are, more or less. If you're somebody that is buying these cryptocurrencies to hold on to them for the long term, and you're buying them and you're kind of just keeping them on a wallet and you're not looking at them, you don't really care about them. Or if you're somebody that's buying these and every time the coins are spiking downwards, you just have a nausea feeling and you just don't feel well, and you have this extreme urge to kind of sell and get out of it, and you're stressed out and all that. There's just kind of different kinds of people who are in this space, and based on each one of those people, or depending on whoever you are, you need to react differently. Or personally, I think you need to react differently to these. And if you're somebody that is getting all frustrated and bent out of shape over a little bit of fluctuation in the markets, even if they are recovering a few days later or a week or two later, you just might be all stressed out until that time. So potentially selling and buying and making daily or weekly trades on your coins, or just having small notifications set based on price fluctuations, percentage fluctuations in the coin prices. Like if you had, for an example, Bitcoin, and you wanted to sell it at, you bought it at maybe the drop down to $6,000, and you bought it at 6,000, and you're not looking for too much of a profit, but you want to sell it at maybe 6,500, 6,600. Set a few notifications for maybe 6,450, 6,500, and potentially see if it's going to go way past that, and you could hold on to it for a little bit and maybe make a little bit more than what you wanted to sell. Or if it's just going to tap up to those ceilings, you could potentially just sell it for that. If it's going to be an all-time high, or not an all-time high, but a short range all-time high, or a spike, the top of a dip, you could potentially pull your profits on that and buy back in. So if you are somebody that is always checking your blockfolio and always looking at every coin that you own's price, and you're stressing out every day, that might be one of the routes that you might want to look into. And that might be something that I make some videos about down in the future, of the best times to buy in, the best times to sell, stuff like that. If you haven't looked into my accumulation videos and stuff like that, that could also help tie into buying and selling coins and finding the best times to buy and sell. Because if you are going to sell your coins or buy into the coins, like I said, you always want to get the most for what you're buying into. And accumulation is a huge factor, and all the manipulation that takes place on some of these coins is a huge factor as well. And you could potentially be buying in at the right or the wrong time. So if you buy in at the wrong time, your money might just be getting eaten up by a whale, or you might just be selling some of your coins to a whale and the price might shoot up right after you sell them. So it's always something you want to be aware of. I haven't really talked too much about how to find that stuff yet, but it's definitely something you might want to look into aside from my videos. Really, the only coins that are kind of down today are the coins that were feeling the positive impacts the other day, like our privacy coins, except for Pivx. It is actually still up, but it is a very, very jagged market. A lot of places for potential profits there. Vertcoin, it's been going up and down and everywhere. I mean, you've had potential to double, triple your money in the past couple of weeks because it's been going up to $4 and down in the $2 and back up into the $4. So it's massively moving. And I think a lot of people are paying attention to this coin and they are seeing the potential behind it as well. And they're getting into it, potentially even buying and selling it on a daily basis and gaining profits off it as well. Another big coin is actually Electronium, and I think that is actually on our biggest gainer of the day. And how I was talking about how that coin just came out into the market, it's probably been about 2 weeks now. And I thought it was still going to drop down a decent amount, but it is starting to pick up now. And it's got a pretty big circulating supply. It's got a lot of developments and stuff going for it and a lot behind the project. I never really talked about this or anything like that, but if you haven't looked into Electronium, it could be something for you to look into. It's kind of an app-based mining cloud platform like that, where you can pretty much just mine Electronium coins from your cellular device, your Android app, via Android app or iOS app. And I think they already have an Android app already made, I think someone said. So I'm not sure if you can download that yet or if it's going to be releasing real soon. But yeah, that could be something that could grow, but it does have a decent circulating supply. So I'm probably going to watch that for a little bit before I decide if I want to invest into that, since I did not get in at the ICO. I had a lot of people that did tell me to look into it, as well as a lot of other ICOs that I am and still looking into and all that, but I just fall behind on some of this stuff and I can't keep up with it. And I have tons of emails of people just telling me all these ICOs. So I'm really disappointed that I let that one slip through the cracks. I feel like a lot of these ICOs, they have so much potential. Even if it is an ICO that is nothing at all, it's got potential to double or triple in money, and then it'll crash after that. It's always a gamble. I want to always put out there that I am not your financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. You always want to be very cautious of everything that you do with your money, every transaction that you make in cryptocurrencies. Even if it's something that you want to buy on an exchange, more or less you want to pretty much count that money out as a loss, even if you're buying anything, because cryptocurrencies are so volatile at this stage. And I know even if you're buying into these Ponzi schemes, you want to call it a guaranteed loss, but if you're buying any of these volatile ICO coins or cryptocurrencies, you could be making a huge fortune off them, 10, 15, 20 times your money on things that you don't even know are potentially big or being hyped up, or you could potentially lose everything. So if you are making any of these trades or anything into some of these cryptocurrencies, you always want to be aware that it's not like the stock market. It doesn't have any of these breakers that are going to shut it down if it drops or goes up more than 15%. It could potentially drop down to 300, 400%, 500%, 1,000%. There's no bottom to where it could go. You may have just paid a bunch of whales all of your money and they're dumping all their coins on you. Always something to be aware of in this space, but in times like this, how can anybody think of that? It's green everywhere. The bigger news that I want to talk about today As we've been paying attention, Bitcoin has had so much news coming behind it. As in my last video, I talked about it is going to be featured in pretty much the whole general topic of a Big Bang Theory episode is going to be Bitcoin. It's called the Bitcoin Entanglement, and that is going to be airing on November 30th. And that is going to be helping out something that is going to be happening within the next 2 weeks after that date, and that is some news that just released from Bitcoin.com. Now, I always want to take news that release from Bitcoin.com with a grain of salt because they are associated with Bitcoin Cash. So, I mean, you can't really take all their information as being reliable, but I don't see any reason why they would lie about this, really. And, I mean, it's some of the first information that we've gotten on the actual release of the CME group, or any information we've gotten from them. So the news that we've gotten is that the CME group is planning to have Bitcoin on the exchange and all of that within the first 2 weeks of December. So that is some huge news for Bitcoin, I think, since a lot of people were very weary in it because there was not a lot of time in the end of this year, and they said that they were going to be putting it on within the fourth quarter of 2017. So I think a lot of people were kind of weary and didn't really believe that. So potentially this could bring a little bit of a spike in Bitcoin price. This news did just release, I think, maybe an hour ago. So it could still influence the price further from here. We might see Bitcoin go up to 66, 6,700 again. Recover back into our 7,000, 8,000 all-time high that we've seen. As I've been saying, I think Bitcoin is going to be the one that remains king. It's going to be one of the most expensive cryptocurrencies. It's going to continue to gain price. It's going to continue to gain ground. It's going to continue to come out with positive developments, and I hope that we are away from some of these forks, which would probably be for the better. I think the more forks that we do run into, the more volatility that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can see as a whole. I think as long as we can try to maintain as one group per cryptocurrency and not have all these groups splitting off and showing that potentially a cryptocurrency you invested in today might have a ton of problems within it that you didn't even notice, and all the developers are kind of clashing within the cryptocurrency and they split off and they can't really come to any agreements or anything like that. So a lot of these forks could be potentially bad for cryptocurrencies, but for now, I think it's a way for everybody to just keep earning money, accumulating more Bitcoins or accumulating more cryptocurrencies, which then you can transfer over into Bitcoins in the long term, because I think Bitcoin's going to be the king, as I've been saying. But other than that, guys, I think that's all I've really got today. Bitcoin Cash, I'm going to leave you guys with this. Bitcoin Cash has been raising dramatically in price, and I think that is kind of due to possibly mislabeling Bitcoin Cash. I've heard a lot of things of people saying that Bitcoin Cash has been labeled as Bitcoin. And if you know anything about Bitcoin Cash is very dominant in South Korea. Anywhere in South Korea, technically, anybody that doesn't speak or isn't getting in contact with anybody that has completely true information about the real Bitcoin or something like that, they could be being sold the wrong Bitcoin and being sold Bitcoin Cash and told that it is Bitcoin. And everybody around them could be saying, yeah, this is Bitcoin. Why else wouldn't you believe them? You're buying it from miners and rich people all around you who are saying, yeah, this is real Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin. This is going to be tomorrow's Bitcoin. They're not telling you anything about what the actual Bitcoin is. They're showing you this Bitcoin Cash and telling you it's Bitcoin. So I think there could be potentially just a whole bunch of negative Bitcoin information going on. So I think Bitcoin Cash, especially, is when we come up to the Coinbase release of Bitcoin Cash tokens in, I think, January. They're going to be releasing them. I think the market of Bitcoin Cash is going to have another plummet, just like when Bitcoin Cash originally released, and we saw a huge kind of spike downwards and then a little bit of a recovery, and then it went down and just collapsed until about now. So we could be potentially seeing the same thing again. Maybe they're pumping up Bitcoin Cash because they see all this money coming into the markets, and if more people buy into Bitcoin Cash, potentially that's just more money for them. Even if they have to spend some of their money to pump it up, they could buy the Bitcoin with their own money, or their Bitcoin Cash with their own money, and eventually after they pump it up enough, they're just paying kind of fees for it, trading fees, and they could pump the Bitcoin Cash up to whatever price they want and then sell it to whoever at whatever price. You always have to be aware that a lot of manipulation can be taking place still on a lot of these cryptocurrencies. I would not buy into Bitcoin Cash even when it was in the $250 region. It was a very controversial coin. It has so much controversy behind it, but with that comes a lot of hype, a lot of positive influence, not necessarily positive, but a lot of possibly big influence or influential people could come in behind the coin as well. And like I was saying, they could just spread false information about the coin. And I mean, if you would have bought into it at that price, congratulations, you're doing very well. And anybody who has been buying into it, I'm sure, has been doing well over the past. If you bought into it before this last few days, you've been definitely making a profit off of it. But at the price it's at right now, I personally would not buy into it. Definitely, as we see the Coinbase Bitcoin Cash coming out, we are going to see a price plummet. Everybody's just smart with their money at this point. Don't do stupid stuff. If you are seeing some green potentially after those big spikes of red that you did see the other day, maybe pull out some of your money, not all of it, not even 50%, maybe just 10-15%, and hold it on to the side in case you do see another negative spike in the next few days, and you could get back in and potentially buy more coins. And as you keep seeing these spikes, maybe buy in a little bit more, 5 to 10% more each time, and you'll become more comfortable with seeing this, and it'll become more of kind of an exercise you're doing, and it'll become a pattern you'll notice and all that, and it'll just become very easy for you to do. And you'll just start to definitely gain more profits over time if you do it correctly. And you'll definitely do it correctly if you continue to do it, because if you start losing out on your money, you're not going to continue to do this. Whatever you do, guys, trade wisely. Continue to search YouTube every day for everything you can about cryptocurrencies. More people that are on here and continuing to spread the word of cryptocurrencies, the better, because the more people that buy into cryptocurrencies, the better it is for you, for me, the whole cryptocurrency world, because it's a more stable currency the more people that it spreads out to. So I'm going to leave you guys with that now. I'm not going to continue on to anything else, and you guys have a great day and continue to trade your Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, and I'll see you.